We thank you so much for watching Voices of the Bar, where the legal world speaks. And I want to thank you, but ask you to subscribe and share our videos and like them and put a comment on our videos. Why do you actually watch minus subscribing? Just hit the subscription button. It doesn't hurt. You lose nothing, but it is some kind of support that you are showing to us that it keeps us going, coming back always to discuss with you. And today we are here for family law and we want to discuss cohabitation. Yes, we want to go straight to cohabitation and we want to appreciate what do we mean by cohabitation, such that students can appreciate this concept. But very important to note as we begin to discuss cohabitation is that the forms of marriages, the types of marriages as discussed in the case of Bariamureba and Kabakonjo. In the case of Bariamureba, the Lord Justice, Dr. Adonyo, discussed the types of marriage. And cohabitation was not among the type of marriage that has been recognized in this country. But this, of course, is the common law marriage principle that is so much followed in the UK and other countries. But of course, the exception clause we inherited, and there are circumstances courts have looked at to determine this whole idea of cohabitation. So let's straight now dig into the definition of cohabitation. Now, this is a process, this is a type of marriage where man and woman live together under the same house, but they are not married. However, they are doing everything married people do. They are having sex, they're enjoying each other, they even go ahead and give birth, but they are not married legally. When you go to law school made easy, we have made videos on family land, property, land law, where a woman, married woman, whether they contributed or never contributed, you cannot tamper with the matrimonial home, you cannot tamper with family land where they have interest. You understand? But the question is, now here in cohabitation, we are not married. We actually, what you want to call the matrimonial home, really, we're not married. Matrimonial home is for the married people. So what happens to the property if people are not legally married, if people are only cohabiting? So what comes up? What is next? What is the legal implication? That is what we are going to discuss in this video. So we want to thank you so much for watching our Voices of the Bar, where the legal mind speaks. But subscribe. Do not watch our videos minus subscribing. We ask you. The statistics are disappointing. That only 40% those who are watching and have subscribed. Only 40%. If I checked my MacBook here, you find that 60% have not subscribed, but they are watching. Statistics are clear that 60% are watching your videos, but they have not subscribed, colleagues. Let's just hit the subscription button and then we can move. So let's dig into the elements of cohabitation. Number one, there should be man and woman living together. They must be living together. That is the first element. Two, they must be living in the same household. Colleagues, there is no cohabitation if you are living in Upper Arizona here, Seguku, where I stay, and then Shadia is in Gayaza. You understand? There is no connection with cohabitation. You must be in the same household. Here at Upper Arizona, Seguku, we are together in here. Three, we are doing all things married people are supposed to. We even give birth to children. That is what we mean by cohabitation, or the elements under cohabitation. Now that we have established that in cohabitation, one of the major principles that everyone should actually take and embrace is that even when you have spent 100 years together, you are only friends with the benefits. You are colleagues who decided to stay together. You are colleagues who decided to sit and have sex regularly, day, night, evening, morning, afternoon, every time. You even give birth. You are colleagues. You as a woman, you don't have any share in my property. You do not have any share in my property. We have been friends with benefit for the last 20 years, because we never got married. You understand? Let's now, and secondly, the locus classicus for cohabitation in Uganda is Alhaji Musa Chigongo versus Olive Chigongo. That is locus classicus. You are not going to discuss anything minus bringing out this case of Alhaji Musa Chigongo versus Olive Chigongo, which actually is still ongoing. Yes, it's still ongoing. So in a few, I'm going to break down for you the case of Alhaji Musa Chigongo versus Olive Chigongo in this very video. But let's first do the case of Kimber versus Kimber. Kimber with K-I-M-B-E-R. Kimber versus Kimber. In this family law, you're going to find cases Hyde, Kimber, Corbett. You know, it's because man and woman. You remember you were married and now you are man and woman in most cases. Then the question would be, before I go to Kimber, why do we have Chigongo, yet these ones have never been married? Why do we have Chigongo? But in this very video, I'm going to break down for you the case of Olive Chigongo versus Alhaji Chigongo, why it is locus classicus for cohabitation, and why did in that case the woman who was cohabiting with Chigongo, why was he given property? Why was he given shares in the property of the matrimonial home in Kololo? Why? Yet we are saying that when you're cohabiting with someone, you don't take a share of their property because you are only. Let's look at the case of Kimber versus Kimber. This man had gotten separated with his wife. They were separation agreement. I think it was a decree Nasai. Now, this man, Kimber, stopped giving maintenance to the woman. Remember, you are in the process of divorce. So there was a separation agreement. The woman is that side, the man is this side. So he stops giving maintenance. claiming that they are now in the process of cohabiting. Court ruled in Kimber versus Kimber that no, you're not living under the same house. You're not living under the same household. So we cannot say that you guys are cohabiting. We can't say that because you're not living in the same household. So that is Kimber versus Kimber. Then, important that skipped my mind when discussing this concept is children born out of this type of arrangement, cohabiting. We have a full case of Kajubi, Kabali versus Kajubi. In that case, it was held that children, whether legitimate or illegitimate, whether born in marriage or out of wedlock, they are all legitimate children. You don't say that I gave birth to this child but we were not married. No. Children, they will benefit. So look out for the case of Kabali v. Kajubi. So let's now go to the locus classicus case of Alhaj Musa Chigongo versus Olive Chigongo. Now, in this case, Chigongo versus Chigongo, Chigongo met with his wife, cohabitees, friend with benefit, Olive Chigongo, way back in the 90s. They started to juggle life together. They juggled life together. So, in the process of being together, the woman even organized some bit of introduction, what they call introduction, in the plane. Chigongo visited them. They stayed together to the extent that Olive even began to call himself Chigongo. When they go to functions, people would recognize them as husband and wife. For Mwami no Muchala, the Chigongos have arrived. Chigongo was constructing his house in Kololo here and tasked the woman to take care, to be the one taking the cement and others to overlook. But also the woman had an idea of constructing. But now we are together, let's do our house. So the woman supervised all the construction. This cohabitation even brought out an issue. When we say issue in family law, we mean children. There was, I think, one or two issues. I think one issue, I stand to be guided, that came out of this marriage, this cohabitation. So, Chigongo, there reached a time when they want to separate, and Chigongo was sending the woman out of the house of Korolo. So a suit was filed that Chigongo is sending out his wife, that they are married under customary law. When we reached court, court discussed this case and looked at the evidence. And the court ruled that there was no customary marriage between these two. Because in their evidence, they even failed to produce any photo of the wedding. Let's have a pause, colleagues, about this. When you are proving marriage, that yes, indeed, we are married, some of the things that we must take into consideration are the functions and the photos. In the case of Chigongo, court failed to establish any photo of the function. Chigongo was saying the man that no, Me, I just went to visit them. There was no function. The woman even brought brothers saying that no, on several occasions we would meet this Chigong and the Olive, and they would introduce him as the husband. Court said that no, introducing me as your husband is not conclusive evidence. If you look, I have my act here. Where is it? Should be here. If you look here under the registration, Customary Marriage Act, there is where they say certificate under section 10, certificate of customary marriage issued under this act or certified shall be conclusive evidence of marriage. These fellows didn't have a certificate of marriage under customary. There was no photo that a faction happened. Whereas Chigonga accepted he visited their place, but it was not for marriage. Whereas the woman brought all the brothers, everybody, that they had introduced him as the husband, court agreed with Mr. Chigongo that no, there was no marriage. But now the question would be, if there was no marriage, because court agreed on issue 1 that there was no marriage. Now issue 2 was whether the woman had their interest or shares in the properties they had accumulated while staying together. The question would now be that, since the issue 1 is in negatives, that there is no marriage, then even issue 2 is supposed to be negative, saying that since there was no marriage between the two, then the woman has no share in the property. Remember, we said clearly that under cohabitation, you as a woman, you don't share any property, you own a friends with benefits. But in the case of Chigongo, this one changed. Court, in resolving the second issue, said that the woman was entitled, equally entitled in the property at Kololo, the matrimonial home. So, family law lawyers discuss and say that this case was decided depending on land law in the principle that we call preparatory estoppel. That where people forego what they would have done and rely on the promise you have made of you constructing your house with her, then you are stopped from reverting that. If you remember, promissory estoppel. So this case is on appeal. So court, after establishing that these two were not married, again awarded the property as shares of this woman, shares in the property. But family lawyers argue that this was based on preparatory estoppel, which is the principle in land law, that you are stopped from changing. Because remember, Chigonga told the woman, let's build this together, go and see. So court was of view that the woman had foregone, she would have gone and built something else. You understand? So that is let's change this. So court envisaged that this woman had foregone, sacrificed. She would have constructed her own house. You understand? So that's what court now based on. So we thank you so much for watching Voices of the Bar, where the legal world speaks. subscribe, share, and like our videos. Until next time, see you. Thank you.